Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Hills of West Virginia podcast. This is the second episode this week. If you're watching this right as it comes out, of course, you will probably just watch the Ask and Power Index episode from yesterday, which was an absolutely fantastic episode. We talked a little bit of baseball, and then we went through the Ask and Power Index for week 4. If you don't know what that is my power ranking system for the season. So that is where we're at right now in terms of the podcast. This is the 5th episode. I'm Stephen Morbius asking. Okay. Of course, not with us right now for this pick'em today is Mr. Eric Ashley Brown and Mr. Welch Stats, of course. God rest their soul. They're not dead. They're not dead. They're still alive. Okay. They're just not on the podcast anymore. But they will be potentially in a couple weeks, hoping that's my hope. But week 3 is over. Obviously, we kind of talked about each team yesterday, gave the power ranking. But today, of course, it's a new day. It's a pick'em. Last week, I did not get the pick'em video out. Just ran into some scheduling conflicts. But if you want to see my picks from last week, you can go on YouTube, go to my community posts, and look at them there. Next week, I hope to have an updated record for myself with the picks. Still figuring out how we're going to maybe do that there. But right now, we are back with the pick'em and ready to go. And we're going to start it off at the NFL today. We're going to get right into it. And there's a lot of games here this week that I really want to talk about. Yeah, not just for NFL, but of course college and high school. But we're going to start off with tonight's game. So this is probably going to go out while the game is going on. And it is Cowboys at Giants. This is a big game, folks, for both teams involved. Really, I can't even encapsulate truly how big this game is. Not just for, the Cowboys, obviously, but for the Giants, too. If you're looking at the way the Giants have played football so far this season, obviously you lose Saquon in the offseason, you draft Malik Nabers, and it looks like you found your shining star, Malik Nabers. And right now, if the Giants have a kicker, they are potentially 2-1 right now going into this game. You look at their week 1 loss, they lost to the Vikings, who obviously they're number 3 right now on the Ask and Power Index. They just look absolutely fantastic right now. And of course, number 2, number 2 is the Bills and the Chiefs, or number 2 and 1 are the Bills and the Chiefs. So the Vikings obviously up there with fantastic company, looking like one of the best teams in the league, definitely the best team in the NFC right now. And you lost that game by a lot, right? I mean, but that defense, all of it. Week 2, though, you play Commanders team, you play them tight, a team that just went out there on Monday night and absolutely dominated the Bengals offensively. I mean, they were just throwing, doing whatever they wanted to. Jaden Daniels looks like a star. And this Giants defense didn't let that Commanders offense get into the end zone at all. Obviously, Austin Seibert went 7 for 7, and Malik Nabers had a crucial 4th down drop that gave the Commanders the ball that allowed them to go down and kick the game-winning field goal. So you had a close game there. Last week, you go out there, you play the Browns, who are not a very good football team right now. They got Masaz Watson in as their quarterback. He's not doing a great job this season. And, of course, you go out there and you beat them. 21-15. So they've played some good teams here. They've beaten one of them. They're 1-2 right now. They come up against the struggling Cowboys team. So you look to the other side right now. The Cowboys folks are absolutely on the struggle bus right now. Dak Prescott is not playing his best football right now. You get blown out by the Saints week 2. You go out there week 3 and you just get absolutely cooked by the Ravens for 3 quarters. But then the Ravens do a typical Ravening and they blow the lead, sort of. It ended up being a 3-point game and the Ravens won. But what does all of this mean? The Cowboys are 1-2. They lose Dan Quinn. Mike Zimmer comes in. It doesn't look very good right now. Instead of going out and maybe getting like a Derrick Henry or someone who eviscerated you or an Eckler type, you go out there, you bring in Zeke, you bring in Dalvin Cook, and it's just not working right now. They're not giving you the production you need. CeeDee Lamb and Dak right now are at odds. What will fix the Cowboys right now? A big win tonight. That's what this team probably needs. I mean, they like, this cannot be a close game at all for the Cowboys. They absolutely need to go out there and win this game. I will be watching this. I'm honestly hoping the Giants win. Because, God, it's going to be glorious if the Cowboys are 1-3 right now and their only win is a bad Browns team with Masaz Watson as their quarterback. But I think I'm going to take the Cowboys to win this game. I think they're honestly going to win this game a lot. I think this is the game they wake up. I mean, look, the Giants, folks, they're still the Giants, and until further notice, I'm not buying into the Giants just yet. Now, they win this game and they're 2-2, and then you start looking at their schedule and saying, okay, well, maybe there's some more winnable games for them. Maybe I'll change my tune, but for right now, I still think the Giants are not a great football team, and I think the Cowboys will win this game. So that's Thursday Night Football. Right now, we're going to move into the Sunday slate of games. First game we're talking about on the Sunday slate is a big one. It's Saints at the Falcons. This is a big game for the NFC South and really for early playoff implications. The Saints right now, first 2 weeks, looked like world beaters. Went out there, completely destroyed the Panthers, and just eviscerated their whole franchise. Okay? Week 2, you go out there and you put the Cowboys in dire straits, blowing them out of the water, right? This week, last week, you met your match with the Eagles. The Eagles defense went out there, shut down the Saints. Kubiak didn't call a great game. Carr played a terrible game. And, of course, he threw the interception late to cost you the game. But, you know, the issue of it is, though, is you're now going up against a team that just beat you. Or just beat the team that beat you last week in the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, Kirk Cousins has been playing great this season outside of Week 1. Week 1, coming off the injury, Steelers are very good Week 1 historically. Kirk Cousins necessarily isn't. They go out there, they play them close. Pittsburgh wins. Week 2, of course, Monday Night Football, Kirko goes out there, and he's dripping all over the field, slicing and dicing this Eagles defense in the final 2 minutes to win the game. Last week, of course, it looked promising. You had a lead against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and that's just what's going to happen a lot of times. So I'll be taking the Falcons to win this game. I like Kirk. I like this Falcons team. I think Raheem Morris is a great head coach. I think right now Kirk Cousins is playing at a high level you just don't see out of many quarterbacks in the league. I'm willing to put him in the top 5. I think the guy is just performing at a high level. Can they get Bijan involved? Can they get Kyle Pitts involved? We'll see. But I'm taking them against the Saints. I think that's going to be huge for this division. That'll be 2-2, and that is one of the very huge games this week in the NFL that if you watched the podcast yesterday, I said, you know, there's 2 games that are really going to shake up the Askin Power Index next week, and that's one of those games. The next game is a game that I don't think, is going to be very close. It's the Rams and the Bears. I think Caleb Williams will be a good quarterback at some point in this league, but I don't think it's going to be this season. I don't think he's going to win Rookie of the Year, and I think Eberflus is not going to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears next season. I don't think the guy's a good head coach. If not for Ron Rivera and Sam Howell and Bieniemy and just the Commanders being the Commanders last season on Thursday Night Football, Eberflus would not be here right now. Maybe it'd be a little bit different. But that's not what happened. Matt Eberflus is still here. They won that game on Thursday night. And, of course, they ended up turning it around. I mean, this defense for Chicago is all right. But offensively, they're just sputtering right now. Defensive culture, defensive-minded head coach. Not great for a rookie quarterback. I don't think Eberflus has necessarily embraced him well. And then, of course, you look to the other side, and it's just nothing but culture. A great culture, a great winning culture, hard-nosed when we saw it last week in the Rams-49ers game. Sean McVay, the guy is still a fantastic coach. He's still a top 5 coach in the league. You could even argue a top 3 coach in the league. Obviously, the schemes are still there. You lose Nakua, you lose Kupp. Those are huge losses to this offense, and yet Stafford still goes out there and slices and dices through that 49ers defense against a team that normally beats you. So great win last week by the Rams. I expect them to get to 2-2. They saved their season last week, and I think they're going to get right back on track and continue staying on track against the Bears this week, and I think they'll win this game by 2 scores. Next game is this game is very interesting. It's the Vikings and Packers. This is the most 50-50 game of the week, folks. Both teams are essentially playing backup quarterbacks. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy was supposed to be playing right now for the Vikings. He gets hurt. You lose Kirk in the offseason to the Falcons, right? So now, of course, it's Sam Darnold who comes in. destroys the Giants week 1. Week 2, he just puts a beating on the 49ers defense. And then, of course, last week, they embarrassed the Houston Texans, made them look like a bottom half team in the league, made them look like a college team. I mean, that was not even close. Kevin O'Connell is a fantastic coach. We know this. The guy did miracles last season. He made Kirk look his best. He's making Sam Darnold look his best. The guy's not throwing interceptions. Now, how long is this going to stay? I don't know. But, folks, the Vikings might have a quarterback, they have a team, and they have a defensive coordinator. Brian Flores is the unsung hero right now. I mean, they're throwing out crazy schemes, these fire zones and stuff, okay, disguising these cover 4s, cover 3s, disguising these blitzes. It's insane. I mean, really, the guy is one of the best defensive minds. He comes from Belichick, and we know Belichick's guys can at least coach defense besides a certain man who shall not be named. Matt Patricia. He's terrible. He's horrible. But Brian Flores is not. The guy's come out here. He should be a head coach right now, but I think the Vikings fans appreciate the fact that he's not, and he's their defensive coordinator. And, of course, he's gone out there, and, he carved up Shanahan. He carved up C.J. Stroud. And, obviously, it's not very hard to do that, but he made Daniel Jones look like Daniel Jones. On the flip side, though, you've got Green Bay, who's come into this season with a lot of promise. They were my pick to win their division. They were, in fact, my pick to win the NFC. But week 1, we saw that get absolutely thrown up in smoke, okay? Jordan Love goes out there, has a sprain on his MCL, grade 2, out for probably what looks to be 6 weeks. At least 3 weeks, probably going to be 6 weeks. So now Malik Willis, another outcast, another backup quarterback coming from Tennessee who was shunned out. But again, another McVay guy like O'Connell is. We know Matt LaFleur can scheme up a run game. We know that the Packers have offensive weapons. They have a good offensive line, and Malik Willis was out there. He was stretching the field, not throwing any turnovers, diced up a bad Titans team, got going against the Colts. This is just going to be a good game, folks. And while I do feel inclined to pick the Packers, because I do think they are the better team, the way the Vikings are playing out, the way that defense is played, I think that's going to be the difference. I don't think Green Bay's defense is as good as Minnesota's, and I think with the level Sam Darnold's playing at, if you just get half of what he's been playing at with how good this defense has been playing, the Vikings should win this game. So I'm going to be picking the Vikings. But like I said, folks, I think this is going to be a very close game. I think it's a flip of a coin, and really, that's really why I'm taking the Vikings right now. The next game, Blitzburg, the Steelers at the Colts. This is also going to be a fantastic game, I think, for Pittsburgh fans. It's probably not going to be a great game for the rest of the league, and it's certainly not going to be a great game for people in Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson right now has regressed. Or maybe this is just what he is. I don't know. But right now, Shane Steichen and them, they've not figured it out right now. Last week, you beat a Bears team who's been struggling. You made Caleb Williams look competent, and that's tough with the way the Bears have been playing. And then, of course, the Steelers, they went out there, beat the Chargers, beat the Falcons, beat the Broncos. They're 3-0 right now. That defense is playing at a high level. Mike Tomlin said there's no need to name a quarterback right now. I agree with that. I think Justin Fields is playing well enough right now to not lose his job, okay? But, of course, again, depending on what happens with Russell Wilson, is he going to lose his job to injury? We don't know. We'll see when that comes. But right now, the Steelers are playing at a high level. They got Dallas next week. Obviously they can't look ahead, and I don't think they are. I think Mike Tomlin's going to have this team prepared. They're playing the Colts, and I think the Steelers beat the Colts this week and get to 4-0. That's my pick on that game. Next game is an interesting game, folks. It's the Denver Broncos at the New York Jets. Now, I personally think Aaron Rodgers, I'm on the Stephen A. Smith camp where Aaron Rodgers is just a bad man. The guy is absolutely fantastic. He's coming in. He looks like he's still dialed in, and he hasn't really lost a step since Green Bay. Obviously, we didn't get to see him last year, but whatever he is, whether he's off of ayahuasca during the games or just maybe crack or whatever, I don't know. You look at the guy, he always seems like he's off something, something that probably he shouldn't be doing. But you know what? He's a bad man, ladies and gentlemen. And the guy's going out there and he's throwing darts. He's going up against the Broncos. I think this Jets defense is a lot better. Now, the Broncos haven't necessarily played terrible. Bo Nix, Okay, week 1, you play a Seahawks team and you come back and the Seahawks are 3-0, and that ended up being a one-score game. You play the Steelers the next week, a 3-0 team with one of the best defenses in football right now. Probably the best defense in football. Maybe only Minnesota rivals them. And you went out there, you played a close game against them. Last week, you go out there against a red-hot Bucs team and you completely dice up that weak secondary Tampa Bay has. That was just a huge game, huge win for the Broncos. Kind of resurrected the season. Started to kind of maybe say, okay, I don't like Sean Payton, but the guy can coach. I hate to say it, but the guy can coach. He went out there and coached and coached his team up, and they got the big win. So, with all of that being said, I'm taking the Jets. I don't think Aaron Rodgers loses this game. Another Nathaniel Hackett revenge game. They won this game last year with Zach Wilson, although obviously two very different teams at that time. But I'll be picking the Jets to win this game. I think Aaron Rodgers and them are going to get to 3-1. And honestly, I think they're going to be on a crash course with Buffalo here in a couple of weeks. The next game is another game. It's the second game out of the two games that I said are going to drastically affect the Askin Power Index next week. It is Eagles at Bucks. This is just a very interesting game because obviously the Bucks are very pass heavy, the Eagles are very run heavy. The Eagles are 2-1. They beat the Packers, who are a good team in week 1. Week 2, they lost to, I think, a very good Falcons team, a team that's in my top 10 on the Askin Power Index. And week 3, last week, they go out there and they beat a Saints team that looked like world beaters and looked like they were going to go to the Super Bowl with how our offense was playing. So the Eagles, of course, are a good team. The Bucks, on the other hand, week 1 go out there against Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, and they beat them down, right? Now, granted, remember, Jaden Daniels did give that defense some problems. He's a mobile quarterback. He was running around. He was moving the pocket. It's just, obviously, week 1, rookie quarterback, new system, of course. You know, they really weren't cashing in. They didn't score a touchdown until Monday night. Week 2, they go out there, the Bucks do. They play the Lions. They beat the Lions 20-16 in a game that maybe they shouldn't have won, but you know what? It doesn't matter because they did win, and the Lions just were out of sync. They threw it 55 times. The Bucks capitalized on that. Baker looked great. Then last week, though, you have a sputter against the Broncos. I don't think that necessarily bodes well. I think Philadelphia with a more mobile quarterback. Again, Bo Nix ran a couple times last week and got some nice yardage out of that. Tampa Bay does not handle a mobile quarterback necessarily very well. We've shown they, of course, obviously beat down on the Lions and just were hitting Jared Goff around and forced them to throw 55 times. But Jaden Daniels gave them problems. Bo Nix gave them problems. I think Jalen Hurts will give them problems. I think the Eagles will give them problems. That secondary right now is banged up in Tampa Bay. I think the Bucs are going to lose this game. I think the Eagles are going to go in here, win this game, get to 3-1. And at least for the moment at that point, take back control of the NFC East. The next game, of course, is two must-win games for two very different franchise trajectories right now. Of course, one is the Bengals. It's the Bengals-Panthers. But the first one is the Bengals. They're going to Carolina. I personally still think the Bengals will be fine. Obviously, I'm a big Joe Burrow fan. I'm a big Jamar Chase fan. I think they're a very solid team still. But that defense hasn't been playing well so far. Obviously, week 1, Joe Burrow didn't play very well in that defense. It was a Patriots, so you really can't say much there. But week 2, the Chiefs, of course, go out there and say what you want. That was pass interference. And you just couldn't have it in that moment. You shouldn't have made contact with I believe it was Rice, was the receiver. Whoever the receiver was, you can't make contact with him in that minute. You just got excited, I think, and he just timed his tackle too early, timed his play too early. And, of course, it cost him that game. And then last week, Jaden Daniels had his coming out game. Joe Burrow and them, Joe Burrow coming off of his second major career injury. Obviously, he still has a good deep ball. He can still connect with Jamar Chase. But this Bengals team, folks, just can't fall behind because I don't know if they can come back right now because that defense does not look great. Now, on the flip side, though, at 0-3, you can't afford 0-4. Luckily, on the flip side, you're playing Carolina this week. Obviously, Carolina's still a mess. I don't think they're necessarily a great team. I don't think Andy Dalton's coming in and resurrecting their season. They played a Raiders team last week that I don't think is particularly great. They essentially still have an interim coach at head coach. I don't think they should have stuck with Anthony Pierce if they didn't stick with Bisaccia a couple years ago. Why go with Pierce? I don't know. I don't necessarily buy into it. But I'm taking the Bengals to win this game. If they don't win this game, then honestly, Zach Taylor should be the first coach fired. He should be fired immediately after the game. But I think they will win this game. I think the defense will hopefully look a little bit better. This should be a 2-score game, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Red Rifle goes out there. In a revenge game, remember, too, obviously, longtime Bengal and Andy Dalton. It would not shock me if he went out there and potentially, slung it against this very bad Bengals defense. But I'm taking the Bengals to win this game, though, and get their first win of the season. Next game shouldn't be close either. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. Really not much to be said other than Jacksonville is horrible. Okay? We've seen Saxonville. Okay? I think now we're hitting Sucksonville because they suck a lot. They are not a very, very good football team, folks. Doug Peterson looks like he's lost this locker room. Trevor Lawrence looks like he's lost his ability to play football. This defense is terrible. This offense is terrible. Their kicker is terrible. Their special teams is terrible. Their stadium is terrible. Their owners are terrible. Their wrestling company is terrible. Everything about the Jacksonville Jaguars right now just is terrible. On the flip side, the Texans are coming off of an embarrassing loss to the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, maybe the potential MVP, Sam Darnold, though, they diced him up. Obviously, Brian Flores just destroyed C.J. Stroud and that Texans defense. But it's in Houston. I expect Houston to get a huge bounce-back win, get to 3-1. They're probably going to run away with this division, folks. I don't know what else to tell you. C.J. Stroud's really good. So give me the Texans to win this game. Next game. Now we're in the 4 o'clock games now, okay? The Washington Commanders versus the Arizona Cardinals, folks. This is an interesting game because both teams' defenses aren't great. Both teams' offenses are playing out of this world right now, and both have defensive-minded head coaches, and this is also a Cliff Kingsbury revenge game. Now, who has the edge here? The Cardinals probably do because it's home. And the Commanders, of course, are playing on a short week. But after the game, the Commanders did go over to Arizona, and they're practicing there this week, of course, in some old stomping grounds of Jaden Daniels at Arizona State. That's where they're practicing, of course, old stomping grounds of Cliff Kingsbury. I expect this to be a shootout. Honestly, I think this is a 50-50 game, folks. I think both of these teams are potential playoff contenders. I think both of these teams could win their division if they really tried. I'm taking the Commanders to win this game. Of course, I would never bet against my team. And I really feel like they can win any game now. They truly can. Jaden Daniels, he's going to be Rookie of the Year, folks. He's playing well. I'm also excited to get to see Marvin Harrison play some football. I've watched a couple of his games over the past couple of weeks, but obviously I'm going to be focused on this game because it's the Commanders. I can't wait to watch. He's probably going to go crazy on this very, very bad Washington secondary. But again, last week the defense made huge stops when they needed to. Can the defense do that? Because it's not going to be about who has the most 3-and-outs. It's going to be about who's kicking field goals and who's scoring touchdowns. Okay, whichever defense is able to make just enough stops, maybe in the red zone or whatever, to force the other team to kick a field goal. That's going to be the difference here. It was the difference last week with Cincinnati for Washington. It's going to be the difference again this week, and I think that's what it's going to be for Washington for most of the season. This was a terrible defense, 32nd ranked defense last season. It was terrible against the pass, and I think they were not as bad as on the run, but still not great. But again, they bend but don't break. I attribute that to the coaching. I think Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. have a fantastic scheme they're trying to run right now. Again, maybe they don't have the pieces. But I'm going to pick the Commanders to win this game. Obviously, I've come down from the high that was Monday night. That was absolutely fantastic. I'm ready for Sunday, though. I'm excited for Sunday. I can't wait to watch that game. Give me the Commanders. Next game, Patriots 49ers. Not a lot needs to be said. I highly doubt we'll see Drake May this week. I don't believe he's starting. And the 49ers, they're angry. They need a big game. They're banged up. Give me the 49ers. This could maybe be, maybe the 49ers don't score 20 points. I don't know, but they're not going to lose this game, folks. I don't see the Patriots winning this game. I think the Patriots are well coached, but they just don't have the offensive pieces, I think, to be able to keep up with San Francisco. Brock Purdy's really playing fantastic right now, folks. I personally have always been he's a system quarterback anywhere else, but he's developed. The guy, he's moving around in the pocket. He's got fantastic pocket presence. He's found Jawan Jennings, who has been just an absolute epiphany, who's been good in years past, but now he really looks like a wide receiver one. He's playing fantastic. Give me the 49ers. The next game, Browns-Raiders, flip a coin, give me the Raiders. I really don't want to talk about this game. I'm not going to watch. I don't think I'm going to watch a single down of this game because this is not going to be like funny bad football. This isn't going to be like Commanders-Giants in the early 2020s where it was just always bad football. No. This is going to be boring, 3-and-outs. These offenses are going to sputter. No one really wants to watch this game. I don't think even the fan bases of these teams want to watch this game. The Browns suck. They got to maybe if Jameis comes in, I'll watch the game. The Raiders aren't good. Again, I just a flip a coin game. Give me the Raiders. Next game is Chiefs-Chargers. The number 1 team right now on the Askin Power Index versus the number 11 team. Obviously, it doesn't look great for Justin Herbert. We'll probably be seeing Taylor Heineke. Just a couple of big injuries. Joey Bosa's out. For the Chargers, one of their players is suspended. God, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but I really don't think it was going to matter much anyways, folks. Jim Harbaugh is a great coach. I think the Chargers still have a chance to make the playoffs and resurrect their season, but, look, folks, the Chiefs are playing at a high level. Mahomes and Kelsey are not in sync right now. Mahomes doesn't look great. 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But this defense by Steve Spagnuolo, it's humming. It's going to go out there. It's going to just absolutely just eat Taylor Heineke or Justin Herbert or whoever plays, your grandmother, whoever's playing. They're going to eat them alive. I don't expect this game to be very close at all, folks, honestly. I think the Chargers defense is all right, but I'm expecting this game to maybe be 10 to 14 points, 2-score game, which I guess you could consider a little bit close, but it's going to be one of those games where the box score is not going to reflect on how dire this game is going to look for the Chargers. So give me the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs. Next game, Sunday Night Football. This is a game that I'm going to be watching. The whole country should be watching this game. It's going to be a great game. Buffalo Bills, undefeated, coming off of just the absolute just bludgeoning that they gave the Jacksonville Jaguars, okay, against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, a wise man once said, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people living there. We're going to have to add a new animal to that statement. The birds. Out there in New York, folks, they are eating the dogs, the cats, and now the birds. The Bills went out there, they came back against a very good Cardinals team week 1. Week 2, they just absolutely destroyed the Dolphins. Week 3, they went out there and they just absolutely destroyed the Jaguars. This is if there is a year the Bills are going to beat the Chiefs, it's this one. They're just playing at such a high level right now. Josh Allen really does look like the MVP right now with just the way he's been playing. It's going to be a fun MVP race this year. And, the Ravens, I really want to pick Baltimore. But it still doesn't look like they've figured out how to keep a lead late. Every game is a nail biter, even the ones they're blowing, where they're blowing the other team out. But I expect this game to be close, but give me the Bills to win this game. But I think it's going to be fantastic. We're going to get Chris Collinsworth on. Can't wait to hear him glaze Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be fantastic. This Ravens defense I don't think is particularly the best. Obviously, they took the Chiefs down to the wire, so I think they can beat the Bills, but I don't think they will. Give me Buffalo to win this game. Next game, Monday Night Football, another doubleheader. So 2 weeks in a row, we got a doubleheader. Obviously, last week it was fantastic because we had a game that everyone watched maybe the first quarter and a half of, and then they turned it off and went to Cincinnati and Washington. Watched that game, of course, which ended up being a fantastic game. I personally don't mind it when it's that scenario. But here we go, Titans-Dolphins. I don't know. I think I'm going to take the Titans just because they have something that resembles a quarterback. The Dolphins don't. Skylar Thompson has a chest injury. Tua, of course, is out right now. I mean, look, this is going to be a bad game, folks. I don't know what game is going to be more unwatchable. Browns, Raiders, or this Dolphins. Now, here's the thing. I will actually watch this game because it's a fun bad game. Why? Because Will Levis, who fires ropes on and off the field, will be playing. Really, the guy's just a character. He's had some really bad plays, folks. So much so that his head coach has publicly ridiculed him. And his head coach is not great. I don't think Brian Callahan's a great coach, obviously. He's one of the only 0-3 teams. Obviously, he was the offensive coordinator for the Bengals last year. Give me the Titans, I guess, to win this game. They'll get in the win column. The Dolphins are going to have to find another quarterback, folks. Joe Flacco is still out there right now. Just don't go after Colin Kaepernick, please. And Tom Brady, of course. Listen, I think Tom would like to come back. So maybe Tom could come back, folks. And if he does, kill me. Then, of course, to end it off on the NFL, the last game, the last pick'em, is the Seahawks and the Lions. This is going to be a legitimately good game, folks. So, again, same situation as last week. I think the one game is just not going to be very close. I think Tennessee should blow out the Dolphins, believe it or not, even though they're 31 on the Asking Power Index. They win that game, they'll move up. The Seahawks and Lions, though, that's going to be the game everyone's going to be watching. I'll be watching it. It's in Detroit. Detroit kind of needs this win a little bit because they're going to fall to 2-2. And depending on what happens in the Green Bay-Minnesota game, Minnesota could be 4-0, or either way, either way, they can't lose this game. Because you don't want to fall to 2-2 right now. Put yourself in a hole in your division. The Seahawks, of course, right now are 3-0. Their division's kind of sputtering right now. Everyone else is 1-2, so they can't afford a loss here. Obviously, you don't want to lose. Geno, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but he's made a couple of nice throws. Obviously, Mike McDonald can coach it. He can coach defense, folks. But I do think the Lions will win this game. They're a little out of sorts right now. They're really not running the football like they used to. They have the best offensive line in football, yet for whatever reason, they've just not been running the football. Make that make sense. Look, Jared Goff, you got to stop. Just run the football. And I think they will. I think they can run the football. I think they'll get back to that. They know that. This is a good Seahawks defense. And obviously, again, you don't want Jared Goff throwing a lot of turnovers, but even then, when he throws 55 times or 35 times or however many times he's been throwing, it's just not a recipe for success, really, for anybody. So I think they will get back to their roots there. They know they got to win this game. I think they'll get to 3-1 and really reiterate themselves as one of the better teams in the league. So give me the Lions. So that's the NFL right now, folks. That's my pick'em. I'm feeling pretty good about this pick'em this week. Like I said, a lot of good games, a lot of major games for the Asking Power Index. You can probably go ahead and pencil that Seahawks Lions one, Bills Ravens, just as games that are really Commanders Cardinals, games that are really gonna shake up the Asking Power Index this week. So now we're gonna move on to college. Now, before we get into the pick'em, I haven't been able to talk about them in a couple of weeks, and I still got a sour taste in my mouth. Obviously, as you guys know, this is from WVU. I'm doing this from my dorm. And 2 weeks ago, something happened that confirmed to me that I am a WVU fan for life. That this is my team. Backyard brawl. 34-24. 5 minutes left in the game. West Virginia's up on Pitt. And like clockwork, Pitt goes down, no huddle, scores a touchdown. WVU gets stopped. Then Pitt goes down and scores another touchdown, and then Garrett Green almost throws 4 interceptions. Not great. I've cooled down a little bit. If this was last week, which it still would have been very fresh on my mind, I probably would have been screaming right now and gotten a noise complaint in my dorm. But, last week, they went out there against Kansas, and really, I guess it evens out because I don't think they should have won this game, but they did. They went out there against Kansas. They were down late. Literally the same exact situation as the Pitt game. Garrett Green. I think there's a formula here for success. You got to get his legs moving. You got to get him out of the pocket. You can't let him just sit there and just fire under pressure. Obviously, your bye week comes at a good time because after this, you have 3 straight ranked opponents. Oklahoma State, Iowa State, and then Kansas State. 2 of those 3 games are home. If you can win 2 out of those 3 games, preferably against the ranked teams, Maybe this can help you. Maybe this can get you back. But look, folks, I don't think it's going to bode very well. I'm not impressed with what I've seen from this team. This defense that the Mountaineers have is terrible. Neil Brown is just not a motivator. He's not a leader of men. He's not a great play caller. They're struggling right now. They're sputtering all over. But maybe could have Kansas gotten them together? Yes, but obviously this week they're on their bye. So just wanted to touch on that there right now. I mean, that was just terrible, folks, against Pitt. They should have won the backyard brawl, and I think that will come to cost them something this season. But other than that, that's the Mountaineers right now. Let's get into the pick'em. First game, of course, tomorrow night at 7:30 on ESPN. Virginia Tech at the University of Miami. Miami, of course, right now is, I believe, the number 6 or 7 team in the nation right now. They're playing very good. They have the most nonchalant quarterback in the NCAA. Give me Miami to win this game, folks. Virginia Tech, I don't think it's going to be a very close game, folks. I think Miami is a premier team. I think they look very good. The U is on fire. They are on fire. Shout out to Eric Ashby Brown for giving me that one. But I'm taking Miami to win the game. Like I said, the U is on fire. They're winning. They're going to continue to win, and they're probably going to move up. Next game is Kentucky at Ole Miss. That was an interesting game. I believe Ole Miss is actually 6. So Miami 7, Ole Miss is 6. Kentucky, of course, went out there and played a close game against Georgia. I don't think Carson Beck is great, and Kentucky should have won that game if not for the fact that their coach punted it, and also one of their players didn't know what a fumble was and didn't know he could pick up the ball. You change those two things, we're looking at a very different situation right now. But obviously, that's not what happened. Kentucky fell apart. Give me Ole Miss to win this game. I don't think it's going to be very close. Minnesota at Michigan. Michigan, of course, going out there. They beat USC last week in a very close game. Obviously, their only loss right now is to Texas, and obviously Texas, it doesn't matter who's playing at quarterback for them. They're going to score a lot of points against you. Sarkisian is cooking up there. So I think Michigan's going to win this game, though. I mean, this defense is still very good. Obviously, if they can run the ball like they need to, they ran the ball, I think, for over 200 yards last week against USC. I think they could do that again, and I think they will win this game. Next game is Oklahoma State at Kansas State. Now, this is one of the bigger games of the week, and I think this is certainly circled, and this is certainly a game I will be tuning into because not only does this just have very big implications for the rankings, for the Big 12, but also for WVU, because probably whoever loses this game might not be ranked, depending on how close this game is or not. And obviously, WVU plays both of these teams here in a couple weeks. They play OSU first, and then in about 4 weeks, I believe they get Kansas State at home. They go to OSU, so big game, obviously. Ollie Gordon is playing very well right now for OSU. So, both teams right now, I believe both are coming off of a loss. Let me double check that real quick. We're gonna pull out the good old trusty iPhone here. So we're gonna pull this up here real quick. Let's see here, Oklahoma State football. All right, let's see here. So, yeah, Utah. That's right. I knew they lost. Yeah, Utah beat them. Now, the Utes are a very good team. Cam Rising's obviously good. Came in, played coming off of injury, and beat them. I think Utah is probably going to win the Big 12 of the season. But right now, again, Ollie Gordon, Kansas State. Who's going to win? I'm picking OSU. I think OSU will win. I think this will probably knock Kansas State out of the ranking. I believe OSU is 20th and Kansas State is 19th. So maybe the loser will just be in the mid-20s. But right now, again, like I said, I'm taking OSU to win this game. Next game, of course, is BYU at Baylor. Of course, BYU went out there. They're ranked right now. They're 23rd. They look very good. Baylor's in the Big 12. Give me BYU to win this game. Of course, this is a big 12 game. So give me BYU. A lot of big 12 games this week. Next game is Wisconsin at USC. Of course, USC right now. Or give me BYU in the Baylor game. USC, Wisconsin. USC, of course, took a loss last week to a very good Michigan team. They beat LSU week 1, who, of course, has gone out there and has been winning games recently. Wisconsin lost to Alabama. Tough loss. I think I'm going to take USC in this game. Next game, Louisville at Notre Dame, of course. Louisville, number 15, playing fantastic football right now. Notre Dame, of course, struggling, sputtering, looking like the Dallas Cowboys of college football. They're number 16. Obviously, they had their loss to Northern Illinois a couple weeks ago. So, look, could Louisville pull it off? I think they will, but I'm going to go with Notre Dame just simply because this game is in South Bend. But I think it'll be a very good game. Next game, of course, the Sooners at the Auburn Tigers. Oklahoma moving to the SEC, of course. They're just, humming right now. Give me Oklahoma to win this game against Auburn. Arkansas and Texas A&M. Of course, Texas A&M is ranked right now. Arkansas had a tough loss a couple weeks ago against OSU. They're not looking too hot right now. They're in the SEC. Give me Texas A&M to win this game. I think Texas A&M is going to keep it rolling. Mississippi State and Texas. Give me Texas. This is not, come on, folks. Number 1 team ranked in the nation. I don't know if Ewers is ready yet. It might be Manning again. Obviously, Arch Manning threw 2 picks last week. But the guy's going to be a great quarterback, okay? Came in a couple weeks ago, diced up UTSA. So give me Texas to win this game. It's not going to be very close. It doesn't matter who's playing my quarterback. It could be my grandmother. They'll probably still win this game by 2 scores. Next game, of course, is Ohio State at Michigan State. I believe Michigan State is actually undefeated right now, but Ohio State right now had a somewhat close game against Marshall. Obviously still beat them. I'll be taking Ohio State to win this game. I don't think this game is going to be close. Probably a 3-score game. Michigan State is decent, but they're just mediocre. Stanford and Clemson. Stanford, of course, in the ACC. Clemson, they're ranked right now. They're playing very well. Dabo's, of course, locked in. Give me Clemson to win that game. Iowa State at Houston. This is a big game for WVU. I'll be watching this one, of course. Houston, Big 12 game. Iowa State is ranked. I think they will win this game. And I think they'll win this game probably by about a couple of scores over Houston. Illinois and Penn State. Of course, this game is at Penn State. I don't think this is going to be very close. Give me Penn State, folks. Drew Allar's playing well right now. Penn State's had a couple of close calls here, but they're going to win this game. South Alabama at LSU Tigers. Of course, LSU has a special place in my heart. I'll always root for LSU unless they're playing WVU. Beat South Carolina, I believe it was a couple weeks ago in a very close game. Probably if South Carolina's quarterback doesn't get injured, they win that game. So give me LSU. I think they'll beat South Alabama, though, by a lot. Washington State at Boise State. Boise State, of course, in the Mountain West Conference. Probably is going to be your 5th conference champion to make it into the playoff this year. I think they will make it in at that 12 seed. I like Boise State. They're a very hard-nosed football team. Obviously, this is going to be in Boise State. Give me Boise State to beat down Washington State. Arizona at Utah, folks. A couple weeks ago, this would have been a big game. I think Utah is going to blow out Arizona. I don't think Arizona is going to even come close to winning the Big 12. I think WVU will have a shot against them, just to put that in perspective. Cam Rising, of course, is playing great right now. Utah is number 10 in the nation. Give me Utah. Oregon at UCLA. Give me Oregon. UCLA, of course, has come out. They're just, kind of playing middle of the pack right now. Oregon's undefeated. They're the number 8 team in the nation. They should win this game. So now, of course, folks, we've got one game left. We saved the best for last. I've learned from my mistakes last season. We're going from, best game of the week, probably best game of the season, folks. We are eating good right now, folks. Georgia at Alabama. It's the game of the century. Obviously, Kirby Smart. He's dominant right now, number 2 in the nation. Had a very, very close scare last week, or a couple weeks ago, against Kentucky. Obviously, this week you got Alabama. Blitz, Bama, blitz. Alabama, the status quo is kept. Saban. Has he even left yet? Right now, Jalen Milroe's playing fantastic. Alabama, they're number 4 in the nation. It's in Tuscaloosa. Who am I taking? I'm taking the Crimson Tide. Roll Tide. Roll Tide, folks. Blitz, Bama, blitz. All of it, folks. Alabama's back. I think they're going to win the national championship this year. That's my pick. They're very good. They're just playing at a high level right now. Georgia, I don't think Carson Beck is the guy. And I think Alabama's going to win this game by 2 scores. That is my hot take of the week. Alabama, 31. Georgia, 17. That's what I see. That's what I foresaw, folks. So there is the college football portion of the pick'em today. Obviously, I think I'm very confident about a lot of my picks. But we haven't talked about this in a while either, high school football. And we got a lot of developing stories coming out right now. So obviously we're just picking the Quad A games, right? And it's been interesting, folks, so far coming in. Obviously 16 teams, which means all 16 teams will make the playoffs in Quad A. So everyone's guaranteed a playoff game right now. For my Musselman Appleman, it hasn't been great. They played Spring Mills last week. We knew that game wasn't going to be close. They played Wheeling Park. That game wasn't close. Played Loudon Valley. Were winning at halftime, then got eviscerated. Got eviscerated by John Hanley. They're in a rebuild right now, folks. They're on their bye week right now. They've got a lot. I'm sure they're trying to retool right now at 0-4. And they get Martinsburg next week. Good luck. But obviously, I bleed green. I'll always be rooting for Musselman. So that depressingness, though, we're going to get that out right now. Now, of course, we've got high school football games to pick, though. I love it. I love high school football. First game we're going to start off with, we're going to go down to the EPAC, Eastern Panhandle, down there in Hedgesville. Washington Patriots at the Hedgesville Eagles. Of course, Hedgesville right now, their quarterback, Chaz Milburn, has come out. He's looked electric. I believe he's a sophomore. He's looked pretty good. They're 2-1 right now. Only loss was to Martinsburg, who's just far and away going to win the championship. I mean, no one's coming even close. Let me see what the score of that game was, actually. I believe Martinsburg blew them out, if I'm not mistaken. I just checked the game a little while ago. I don't know why I can't remember. But again, it's not going to be close no matter what. Yeah, 66-0, folks. What are we doing here? I think they'll beat Washington. Give me Hedgesville. Cabell Midland at Hurricane. This is not going to be a close game. Hurricane right now is one of the premier teams in the state right now. Obviously, they played a very close game against Huntington in week 1. And Huntington, we all thought was going to be a pretty good team. So I think they're probably just a tier below maybe Spring Mills and Martinsburg right now. So Cabell, of course, they're 0-3. Hurricane right now is playing well. Give me Hurricane. Next game, of course, is Martinsburg and Jefferson. Usually this is always a highly touted game. I don't think it's going to be. Listen, Dave Walker is just doing something that, the guy just doesn't lose. He just doesn't lose. He never loses. And, of course, Martinsburg right now, they're just playing at just the highest level they can possibly play at. Give me the Bulldogs to win this game. Jefferson's not very good this year. They've had losses to Sharando and Spring Mills. They got annihilated by them. Give me Martinsburg. Next game, Buchanan Upshur at Morgantown, here in Morgantown. I've got some family coming up this weekend, though. Very excited to see them. Shout out to them if you're watching this. Obviously, shout out to you guys. Very excited for you guys to come up. So obviously, again, Morgantown, Buchanan Upshur is going to be Morgantown. Morgantown's their only loss right now. It's probably the best team in AAA. Bridgeport is going to win the state championship this year for AAA. Bridgeport, again, far and away just better than everybody else in AAA. Give me Morgantown to win this game, though. I think they'll beat Buck Upshur. I think they're a very good team, and Buchanan Upshur just doesn't have it this year. Next game is Spring Mills and North Hagerstown. Now, I want to talk about Spring Mills, folks, because I think this is your state championship. Spring Mills and Martinsburg. I think that's what it's going to be. Spring Mills is loaded. They have not given up a point yet this season. They are just playing at a very high level. And North Hagerstown, I don't know much about this North Hagerstown team, but I know they're typically not great. And I know, obviously, Spring Mills usually wins this game. I think they're going to blow them out, probably not give up a point. Listen, folks, this is one of the more dominant efforts we've seen. And they got a game, and Spring Mills has a game against Martinsburg in a couple weeks that I think we'll all be watching. I will be watching. That's going to be the game of the Tri-County area, folks. If you got nowhere to be, you better be at the Eastern Panhandle or on YouTube watching that Martinsburg Spring Mills game here in a couple of weeks. But right now, Spring Mills doesn't play them. They're going to continue stacking wins. Next game is Parkersburg at Capital. Parkersburg, they're 1-3 right now. They're sputtering. Obviously, last week they lost the Parkersburg, the Battle of Parkersburg. I can't remember what that. I think that's what it's called, the Battle of Parkersburg. They lost to Park South by a lot. Park South went out there and destroyed them. But I think they will be Capital. Capital's terrible, and I believe Capital's also AAA. So yeah, Capital. This is not going to be a close game, folks. Next game is University at Fairmont Senior. Fairmont Senior obviously just made the move up to AAA. University kind of playing middle of the pack right now in Quad A. I picked University. We're going to pull back up our thing here. We're going to go to AAA. We're going to look at it. So, yeah, right now, in fact, folks, you know what? I'm changing the pick. I'm not taking Parkersburg. I'm actually taking Capital. Parkersburg's not very good, folks, unfortunately. I don't think they're very good. And for the Fairmont Senior game, right, we're pulling it up here. Pulling it up, don't worry here. Yeah, Fairmont Senior, one of the premier teams. University, of course, right now 1-2. Give me the Fairmont Senior Polar Bears. Obviously, again, we actually got to cover Fairmont Senior a little bit last season on their bid to the state championship. Obviously, Fairmont Senior is a premier team in Triple. Obviously, they're going to be playing in AAA this year. Probably going to be them in Bridgeport. I can't wait to watch that, folks. I think we're going to have some really good state championship games this year. So obviously, give me Fairmont Senior to win this game. Next game is Park South at John Marshall. John Marshall, of course, now is a AAA school. And Park South, obviously, always going to be Quad A, never going to change. John Marshall's 0-3. Park South right now, what's their record? Let's see here. They're 3-1. They beat down on Parkersburg last week. Give me Park South. This is not going to be a game, folks. Next game, G-Dub, George Washington at Spring Valley. Neither of these teams are necessarily playing great right now. Excuse me there. Had a cough. Obviously, G-Dub right now, actually, G-Dub's 4-0. Spring Valley's not playing great football right now. I think George Washington should win this game by a lot. So there's the pick'em for this week, folks. I wanted to make sure to get this out. Obviously, games start in about an hour. I'm ending this recording at 6:57 right now, so wanted to make sure I get this out. Kind of had the speed run here at the end due to time constraints, but very excited, very ready to go. I've been enjoying it up here at college, folks. Really, I recommend more people do college. Obviously, no political stuff this week. Obviously, there's nothing going on right now. Excited to be getting another podcast video out. Obviously, the Ask and Power Index video for this week will be out. Remember, Monday, tune in. Baseball playoffs start. We've got the Orioles. Where are they going to be at? Well, actually, baseball playoffs don't start, actually, because we've got two big games. It was just announced today, actually. So I actually wanted to update everybody on this. The Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets will be playing their doubleheader to determine the wild card for the National League. Obviously, because of Hurricane Helen, whatever it is just, praying for the people down there. It's going to come through. It's a Category 3 right now, hurricane. Obviously, it's caused the Braves game and the Mets game to get postponed. But right now, as it stands right now, the Yankees and Guardians will get the bye for the first two, or for the wild card round in the American League. Houston, as of now, will have to play Detroit. But I think Detroit's probably going to slide into that 5 spot. Barring a miracle, they're going to play the Orioles. The Orioles right now, I think the Orioles can still win out and still look good, but obviously, they're going to be able to do, we're going to be relying on Pittsburgh. Now, if Pittsburgh can pull it off, shout out to the Pirates. I don't know if it'll happen, though. The Orioles, they get the Sputtering Twins. They should win. They should at least win that series. They've obviously won the series against the Yankees. You look at the National League right now, Dodgers, Phillies, vying for that number 1 seed. Obviously, the Brewers have clinched up there. They're going to be the 3 seed most likely. Actually, I think it's guaranteed they're the 3 seed at this point. And then, of course, you have the Padres at the 4 seed. They're locked into that. Outside shot at maybe taking their division. I don't see it, though. And then, of course, you got Atlanta and New York and Arizona all kind of intertwined there. So, again, I think the fate of all those 3 teams is going to come down to Monday. I'll be excited. I'll be back on Monday. I'll try to maybe have a little bit of a later show because I want to try to, we'll see. We'll play it by ear Monday now. Of course, obviously, a curveball has just been thrown. So, when life gives you lemons, baby, you got to make lemonade. So, that's the show. thank you for tuning in. Obviously, I love and appreciate everybody who watches this show. Shout out to Stats and Mr. Eric Ashby Brown, obviously gone but not forgotten. I'm Stephen Morbius Askin, and back to you in the studio.